Welcome back to my channel. It's Dimps Designs. If you want to see how I made this mask, please stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to be sewing a face mask for a customer who provided me with the printed fabric, and I'm going to be using black cotton fabric. They're both cotton material. I have my extra large adult face mask template and some Shape Flex 101 interfacing, which I'm going to use to provide some stability for the mask. Here you see me just prepping the fabric so that I can put the template down on it and cut it out. I noticed that some people that I watch on YouTube actually pin the template to the fabric, but I don't do that. This template is made out of a piece of cardstock that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. So it's pretty sturdy, and I'm being careful by cutting it out with my rotary blade. Now that I have my printed pieces cut, I'm going to go ahead and cut out my interfacing as well. Normally I do put the interfacing and the two fabric pieces together and cut them all out at once, but for video purposes I went ahead and cut each piece out separately. Here I'm just using my steam fast iron that I purchased from Walmart for $12.88. It's a perfect iron for doing small projects like this, and I love it. Here I'm just showing where there's a rough edge and a soft side of the interfacing. You're going to take the rough side and place it down on the fabric. I gave it a little spritz, and that's just water in that bottle. And I'm going to use my Teflon sheet here to cover it. Normally, I don't usually use a Teflon sheet. I would just place the iron right onto the interfacing. But I decided to go ahead and use the Teflon sheet for this video. I'm going to flip and do the same thing on the other side. And again, the interfacing is just going to give the mask a little more shape so that it's not flat or flimsy. And this iron, I love, love, love it. I use it for all of my small projects, especially my mask and also applying HTV. So now that I have my two pieces with the interfacing on, I'm going to take a few pins just to give it a little more stability when I'm sewing. I usually put 2 pins in each side of the mask. And now both pieces are ready for the sewing machine. And be sure to make sure you close your rotary tool. Safety first always. Close your rotary tool. Get those sharp edges out of the way. The small pair of scissors I like to use once I'm at the sewing machine. And I'm just going to sew on the curve at about a 1/2 inch seam. And y'all, this sewing machine, my sister gave it to me. She purchased it at a thrift store probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. And the part that holds the thread is missing, so that's why I have my thread sitting up there on the top part. Normally you would use that to rewind your bobbin, but that's what I use it for. When you start, you always want to start with a back stitch on both ends. Now that I have both pieces sewn, I want to take the printed fabric and open it up so that the pretty sides is facing up towards me. Place that down and take the lining piece, the second piece, this is the piece that touches the mouth. Place the pretty side to that and face down. Here, all I'm doing is lining up the seams and I'm pushing them the opposite of one another and I'm pinning it down. And repeat the process on the bottom portion of the mask. Right here, I'm just cutting away some of the excess fabric that was there once I sewed, just so it's not bulky in those areas. All right, you ready for the sewing machine? You're going to sew the bottom part of this. Always remember, start with the little small short stitch, then back stitch. Go all the way down. Once I get to the seam part of the mask, I gave the sewing machine a little more gas. And you're going to see me cutting my threads after each stitch. I always cut as I sew. I don't wait until the end to cut my threads. And here, this is the top part of the mask. So what I like to do is when I get to the tip top, I like to pivot a little just so it can continue that curve at the top of the mask. I'm just cutting a little extra fabric and you're going to flip inside out. You know, we almost at the finish line. See how nicely those seams came up together? That's what you want. And I'm just rolling my seams on the inside. I'm rolling them to make sure the mask, all the fabric is pushed out to its max. And here I'm going to be ironing just to flatten it out. I love to use the iron in my sewing projects. I've said this before, but I just like to have a fresh look to everything that I do. So I love to use the iron to press out my seams. And then I'm also folding in the edges where I'm going to be putting my earpieces. And these are just some ear straps that I purchased off of Amazon. They are adjustable. And I'm just checking the length because this mask is an extra large. So I like to use the longer straps for the extra large masks. And y'all, I think this part of the whole process is the longest for me, putting the ear straps in, because I try to make sure they're about an inch down, sometimes half an inch. And you have to make sure that they are not flipped so that when you wear your mask, the earpieces aren't all wonky. So here I'm just putting the ear straps in and using my pins to pin them to the body of the mask. And repeat the same process on the other side. I absolutely love making face masks. It's been a great experience for me, not the pandemic, but doing this. Okay, so I'm going to sew all the way around, and I am using a straight stitch for this whole project. I tried the zigzag stitch and I did not like the outcome of the stitches, maybe because I didn't have a steady hand and the stitches were a little crooked, so I just like to stick with the straight stitch. Here you'll see me pivot. Anytime you pivot, you want to make sure that your needle is in the fabric before you lift your presser foot. Also, with the pins in there holding the straps, you want to be careful when you're hitting those corners to make sure you're not going over the needle, over the pin, because you can break your needle, which I have done before. So I'm just removing the pins as I go. And also you want to do a back stitch over top of the straps. Once you do a stitch over, you want to back over, back just a few times to make sure that the straps won't fall out. Once again, I'm cutting my final stitches. And guys, there you have it. There is the finished product. This is an extra large adult face mask, and I love it. And the interfacing just gave the mask a little more shape, and it also can act as a filter as well. These are washable. Thank you for watching.